Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my co-ordinator commentary, Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And I gotta say, for me, this episode of Lucha Underground seemed to focus more on match quality than furthering any particular narrative to me. We did get some cinematics, and they were great, but they all seemed to push more matches that were happening within the confines of this episode and not really forwarding any kind of plots that we know are more layered, going to take more time to resolve themselves. That's not a criticism. It's just a different style that we don't normally often see from Lucha Underground. And, you know, I'm normally more of an in-ring guy, but Lucha does their stories so well that I really was missing some of the things touched upon or that have been touched upon in this episode, like Officer Reyes and things of that nature. But still, though, a really fun episode tonight. I enjoyed myself. What about you, man?
Yeah, this episode in sort of a theological or hypothetical context felt really small because everything that happened was kind of confined to this episode. Like we come in and immediately Chavo attacks Dragon Azteca, and that doesn't lead to anything except for the main event being changed tonight, which again, keeping it within the confines. We didn't have anything outside of the temple. We didn't have any cinematics outside of the temple. Everything felt small in this episode compared to other episodes of Lucha Underground because nothing really went outside the confines of not only this episode but also the temple.
Right. And, you know, again, not necessarily a criticism. It's just, it's a bit weird. You know, I was really looking forward again to more broad things being touched upon, but we got some fun matches tonight that I'll be excited to talk with you about. So with that said, are there any other preliminary remarks you want to get out before we get into this?
No, not really. You know, for the most part, this was an entertaining episode, but it was, I'd say, a tad underwhelming relative to what we kind of have come to expect from Lucha Underground because, like I said, it felt small and confined.
Devin, and I would agree with that assessment wholeheartedly. But again, like, yeah, this is episode 6 tonight. And you just have to imagine sooner or later, man, things are going to go off like gangbusters, and I can't wait. But with that said, let us get right into our Lucha Underground review. And first of all, we get a recap on everything that's going to be touched on throughout the night tonight. And then we get our first cinematic, El Dragon Azteca Jr. looking at a poster, I guess, like in his locker, a little, you know, magazine clipping of, I'm thinking, the original El Dragon Azteca. And, you know, talking about how he's excited about facing Pentagon.
Yeah, the picture was like a fight promotion poster for a fight between Chavo's father, the original Chavo Guerrero, and then El Dragon Azteca, the original El Dragon Azteca.
Right. And, you know, El Dragon Azteca Jr. saying, you know, excited for my match with Pentagon tonight. I'm gonna make things right. You know, really just, I guess, paying homage, talking to the former El Dragon Azteca. And then Chavo comes out of nowhere and starts beating El Dragon Azteca Jr. with a steel chair. And it was at this point, Ashton, that I thought you had a great observation, you know, during live reactions. And you mentioned the cinematography in this whole thing. And I agree with you. I feel like the camera angles that they used, particularly one where it was like you could see the chair shot from Chavo's particular vantage point while Dragon Azteca Jr. is kind of receiving it, and he's just hitting the chair over and over again. I thought that was really well done.
It was almost like a first-person point of view from the perspective of El Dragon Azteca Jr.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely thought that added an air of brutality. I mean, it's already a brutal assault to begin with, but I think that kind of ups the ante a little bit in terms of atmosphere.
It's like we're on the receiving end of this beatdown. Yeah,
that's a great way to put it. And yeah, I really love that they employed that. And then I'll be honest, I kind of chuckled here because, you know, Chavo gets done the damage, which is pretty visible to anybody. Like, he didn't even bother to hide anything or whatever. It's like, yeah, I did it. And he walks off. Comes in contact with Ray. They kind of have a little stare down. Chavo walks off. Ray turns the corner. He sees El Dragon Azteca Jr. And then he starts calling for help, even though, again, as you noted in live reactions, you know, you're in the locker room. Nobody's going to hear you, dude. So what did you think of this cinematic?
You know, it was almost like they were going for more of a comedy route tonight because between this first cinematic And then the second match that we had tonight between Sexy Star and Jack Evans, and even the first match that we had tonight. So really everything except for the main event, really it felt like they were going more for comedy, and it worked. It made me laugh, but it's not what I'm used to from Lucha Underground.
Yeah, this definitely seemed, I don't know if experimental is necessarily the word, but it didn't seem like they were trying something a bit different, because I agree with you. The stuff that was meant to be comedy, like, man, I was dying. I was grinning like an idiot, especially our opening match, which we'll get to here in a few moments. And then, yeah, you got the, oh, yeah, and then you mentioned comedy. I can't, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. When he realizes that no help is coming, Ray does the obligatory hero looking up at the sky. Chavo! Shake fist, vengeance.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Dying, man. Anybody that knows me knows, for whatever reason, stuff like that, or again, as you guys already know, when a villain says their name, you can't do this to me. I'm so upset. That gets me every time.
Bo Dallas!
It just gets me every time. It's like that weird quirk that I have. What can I tell you? So yeah, this cinematic was a lot of fun.
You're just a big fan of corny movie tropes.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. Literally, I couldn't have. So thank you for stepping up. Is there anything you have to say about this cinematic?
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't even know what I can say. It served its purpose. It was hilarious.
All right, then we move on to a tag team match. Mascarita, Sagrada, and Son of Havoc versus Famous B and Dr. Wagner Jr.
This was amazing. I want to be the first person to say that when you announce Son of Havoc and Mascarita Sagrada, and they come out with Son of Havoc driving a motorcycle with a goddamn sidecar, and Mascarita is just coming out pointing his middle finger at Famous B as if he's pointing a gun. Just amazing. It was amazing to me. He and then beautiful Brenda, naughty baby. It's just legend status.
Partner, I was going to give you the floor on this anyway. What did you think of this tag match?
Oh, I loved it. It was great. Again, another comedy angle here for me. It was so funny. You've got Mascarita. First of all, as soon as they come out, he is just holding up his middle finger like it's a freaking gang sign, and he wants everyone to know which gang he belongs to. And then he actually gets in the ring, and we all know he's good in the ring. He's quite competent in the ring, actually. But the imagery of him lifting Famous B up onto his shoulders for a fireman's carry slam, I just died. It was amazing.
I just love the whole idea that they probably came up with this whole thing. Like, it's like what we didn't see in Son of Havoc's room, living in his mom's basement. It's like, and they're just chilling over bagel bites. What if you and I came out on my motorcycle, but I install a sidecar so you can come out with me? Oh, dude, that's dope. Let's do it. And just this whole thing. And I gotta say too, because I guess I am just that kind of asshole, there is something about a guy wearing a mask in Son of Havoc, and then a guy wearing a full, luchador-esque, attire in Mascarita, wearing bike helmets indoors with a car going that slow, that is just hilarious to me. I saw that. Yeah. I started dying. Brenda was freaking great. Dude, really, with you and I watching, interviews with her in them, and then just really being able to pick up on things she said. Now, granted, I'm going to appreciate the rewatch, because whenever we do live reactions, I always have that kind of stuff muted. I only turn up the volume for cinematics or, talking promos. But from what you were telling me, she was hilarious. I loved it. And yeah, she's great.
There was one point when Famous B got tossed out of the ring, and he was trying to get back in the ring, and she was holding him back. And she was just like, no, you're too good for this. It was hilarious.
And yeah, a really fun tag match though. You'd think for something that would go a certain way, there was great energy in the start. There was one spot I thought was crazy where Dr. Wagner Jr., that's right, he reversed an Irish whip. Seemed like he was going to send Mascarita into the steel steps, but Son of Havoc vaults him over onto Famous B, and he uses that momentum to do a Hurricane Rana onto Famous B. And I'm like, that's a great freaking sequence. That's the one word I would really use for this match. It was fun. I love the teamwork from Havoc and Mascarita, but I also loved the heel freaking team here, because in the closing moments, again, after that airplane spin by Mascarita to Famous B, using all that power that made you die and made me smile like a goddamn idiot, he tags in Son of Havoc. It seems like he's going to hit the shooting star press, but Dr. Wagner Jr. at just the right time shoves Son of Havoc off, and Son of Havoc's back actually hits the ring apron, so that's a believable spot to take out a guy for the rest of the match. Because, I would have just been like, okay, well, it's up to you, Mascarita. Oh, God, I think my organs got rearranged. And then he gets left alone. And, yeah, he gets taken out. Dr. Wagner Jr. does a sick-looking Michinoku driver. Release doesn't bother, for the pin. Because then Famous B gets the tag, gets the stethoscope, checks the pulse, and that's also a pin. And that's how that team wins. I freaking love it, dude. I'll be honest. I thought Mascarita and Son of Havoc were going to get their comeuppance here, but I'm actually glad they're dragging it out, because I think that makes all parties involved more interesting and, definitely keeps that Technico fire for both Son of Havoc and Mascarita. So no qualms here, dude.
Yeah, this is great. The one thing I will say, though, it's interesting that they lost knowing that the title of the episode is The Open Road to Revenge.
Yeah.
I mean, that 100% implies that Son of Havoc, who is billed as from the open road, will get some form of revenge, and he totally didn't tonight. So, deceptive episode title for the loss, I guess? I don't know.
Man, because really, if you look at it in hindsight, I know he got screwed out of a main event at Ultima Lucha 3 for the Lucha Underground Championship, but this might have been even worse. Like, his back got wrecked by that apron. I would have just been rethinking all my life choices, like, oh, why do I hang around with him? Oh, God. And, but I'll tell you, it was a fun match nonetheless. You guys can hear it. I can barely even review this without laughing. That's how great it was. But, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm very curious what these 4 guys are going to do, and Brenda, who just continues to stand out by being adorable and wonderful and over the top. I've got nothing else to say about it, do you?
I just want more interviews with Brenda in character.
Yes.
She's too good, man. All right, so up next, we had sort of a long commentary segment where they, the camera was on them and the focus was on them, and they were talking about how next week we are going to be getting Puma versus Muertes.
Yes. Very excited for that match. That should be fantastic.
Definitely. And then they kind of kicked it over to Melissa Santos, because the next match was Gift of the Gods, Jack Evans versus Sexy Star.
And I'll tell you what, man, and again, this is why I love the TWitWoW space, because there's a time for geeking out and there's a time to really look at everybody equally. And I did my geeking out for Johnny Mundo, in live reactions, but Jack Evans, dude, is fucking ace. He is so good. And I know this is a fact, not new to anybody. But, it bears repeating when you do the quality of work that he does, because I was so happy. Probably my biggest mark-out moment of that particular live reactions, because there really wasn't a lot of, like, holy shit or anything kind of moments on this episode, was when Jack Evans actually got a microphone and he started to speak. I even said, he speaks! He lives! Because, that's the thing. It's so funny in this day and age with wrestling. I'm not saying it exists, but sometimes you do get this idea like, well, maybe there is a dichotomy in wrestling. Like, either you're really good at in-ring or you're really good at, like, the presentation. But Jack Evans is so good at both. And that's what makes him truly a standout in this business right now. Because he can have amazing matches, but man, can he work that.
I think so is Mundo, as long as he's heel.
Yes, and I agree with you unequivocally. And that's why I was saying for years, dude, turn him heel, because I got so sick and tired of people saying, oh, he can't talk or do anything. I've loved his stuff as a heel. But Jack Evans, man, just saying, and I wish I would have caught all of it, which again, that's why I always love that we do a rewatch, because the only thing I caught of his promo was saying that, you better get your lawyer, because when I'm done, they're going to be calling me or Melissa Santos isn't going to be announcing me as the Dragon Slayer, but as the Star Destroyer. And then Sexy Star just slaps the taste out of his mouth, which proves that words hurt, because Jag must have lit a fire under her ass, because that slap, man, took all the taste out of that mouth.
I wonder if they taped these matches out of order, and that slap is why he had to get his jaw wired shut.
Oh, wouldn't that be something? Like, I got slapped so hard I lost my ability to speak. But I got to ask you, man, before I go get carried away with this runaway train here, what did you think of this match?
I thought this was a solid match. You know, with Sexy Star, it's always weird because I always feel like she doesn't sell enough. Like with Jack
Right.
Evans, when he gets slapped by even someone Sexy Star's stature, he sells the shit out of it. Whereas with Sexy Star, a lot of the time, she'll get stuff happen to her and then she'll pop right back up and be in her like fighting stance. You know, like she's in Street Fighter.
Right.
And I'm just not a big fan of that. Obviously, no selling has its place when you've got guys like Matanza and Cage doing it, but
Right.
anybody, regardless of gender, of Sexy Star's stature, needs to sell their asses off, and that's what Jack Evans does. And to have a match between him and Sexy Star, the only real explanation in this specific match is, oh, well, she has the gift of the gods. But at the same time, this has been sort of her in-ring style for pretty much the entire time she's been in Lucha Underground. And she's only had Gift to the Gods for 6 episodes now. So, you
Right.
know, it's just an ongoing theme with her. I'm not, and I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't really been much of a Sexy Star fan. Like, it's got nothing to do with, oh, I hate women wrestlers, because obviously I'm a huge fan of Taya and Eva Lise and Mariposa, and you know, I'm one of the few people that actually stands up for Cobra Moon in the ring because I think she's got ass loads of potential and upside. But I just am not that big of a Sexy Star fan. Like when the news came out that, oh, Sexy Star unmasked and is going into the boxing world, I kind of breathed a sigh of relief because I've never really been that big on her.
And bro, you know, that's cool, man. I'm totally picking up everything you're saying. Quick side note, where the hell
On the
is
other
Cobra
side of the
Moon?
spectrum, though, Jack Evans was fabulous in this match.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, dude, here's the thing. Again, I can totally respect and appreciate your comments about Sexy Star, but I am so glad that we're in complete agreement with how good Jack Evans is, because I could do my jokes like, oh, it's all about Johnny Mundo, which, let's be honest here, it kind of is. But more importantly, Jack Evans is just absolutely insane. He's so just, I don't want to say ahead of his time, but he's just so good. He just gets it to me. He gets it. In fact, so much so that I'll tell you right now, this is my match of the night. I enjoyed this more than the triple threat. I enjoyed it more than our opening tag team match, which was great. And I think that was really because just seeing Jack Evans do his thing, it's freaking wonderful. You know, and I will say, I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from with Sexy Star selling, where I can appreciate her at times, and I wish she did it more. You know, because at one point, like, Jack Evans was really kneeing her in the face, and she had this faraway look in her eyes, like, man, he just got rocked. So sometimes Sexy Star, especially facially, can emote well and be expressive. It's just something I don't think we see enough, and that's a problem. Because it's one thing to do something well one time, but I'd really appreciate it if you could do it consistently. That's where it really matters. So, yeah, I mean, you know, those two are having a great match. Then Worldwide Underground, you know, comes out. I mean, you know, PJ Black with a kendo stick. Seems like he's kind of distracting or just kind of moving around, not really hitting anybody, just kind of there to be a distraction.
I love that, dude. Like, he just shows up with a kendo stick, and it's like he just really just wants to kind of just loiter around the ring while in the possession of a kendo stick, and the referee is just admonishing the hell out of him for it. And then next thing you know, dude, Johnny Mundo shows up and spears the shit out of Sexy Star on the outside.
Dude, I'm so glad you said spears the shit out of it, because you know what? And I may cause some debate here, because yes, I am a Johnny Mundo fanboy first and foremost. I thought that was so much better than any of Roman Reigns' recent spears. Not all of his spears, but man, that spear by Johnny Mundo, I'm like, damn. Goldberg's returning next week. Who gives a fuck when you have a spear like that? Holy shit.
Well, to be fair, Goldberg did have like the best spear of all time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not going to deny that. I'm not that crazy. I'm just saying in a hyperbolic sense, that was a sick fucking spear by Mundo. Like,
it was, definitely. I'll give you that for sure. It was pretty great. Not as good as the one that he delivered last season. I don't even remember who it was that he speared last season, but he turned someone inside the hell out last season. It might have even been season 1 against Del Rio. I don't remember.
It might have been. I just love whether it comes off bad or not. And if it came off bad consistently, then obviously stop doing it, i.e. John Cena's springboard stunner. But I do love that he does.
took a while, but he did stop.
And he did stop. But I'm glad that Johnny Mundo does kind of experiment with moves like, oh, I'm going to ground and pound and, just kind of, slam you down and then hit you with my fists or a spear. Like, I just think that's so cool. But unfortunately, for as cool as I thought about it, in my opinion, it's irrelevant because Sexy Star still kicked out, despite the fact that Jack Evans even had the wherewithal. And I love this, too. This is my personal favorite moment of
Pulled
live
her away
reaction.
from the ropes.
Pulled her away from the ropes, even after you said on live reactions, oh, but she's so close to the ropes, though. Jack Evans is next fucking level. He knows. I wish more people were like that. Oh, I'm in a world title match. I just hit my finisher. Oh, they're really close to the ropes, so I should just drag them a few inches. But, oh, man, this might be my only shot. Well, no, fucking drag them. And Jack Evans understands that. But
I know, but it didn't work. Maybe if he would have gone for the pin.
Who knows? Or maybe Sexy Star is just OP, and that's the real problem here. But in the end, things continue to break down because then Jack Evans, he gets handed the kendo stick, but then Aerostar comes out. He takes out Johnny Mundo. Drago takes out PJ Black. Aerostar hits, I think he calls it the falling star to the outside on Mundo, just taking him out completely. And then it comes down to Sexy Star and Jack Evans. Jack Evans gets taken out by Star, and then a sidewinder to end it. Just Sexy Star is still Gift of the Gods champion. I gotta say, and yeah, it was more of a fandom criticism, like, ooh, curse you. But I was kind of annoyed at Phoenix's interference because it already seemed like the playing field was kind of level. And then the tag was kind of cheated.
That was the problem for me. Like, Phoenix is supposed to be this white knight character who never does any wrong, and here he is helping Sexy Star to cheat.
Yeah, I mean,
someone else cheated first.
Exactly. I can absolve Aerostar and Drago, right? Because they're simply evening the numbers. But
right, well, and even in that case too, Aerostar and Drago are a little bit more in the grayscale, white to black, evil and good kind of thing, whereas Phoenix is supposed to be 100% pure good.
Right.
The old RPG role playing chart where it's go from chaotic to lawful and then good to evil. I feel like Drago and Aerostar are more lawful neutral, whereas Phoenix is lawful good.
Yeah, and he wasn't lawful good tonight.
Out of his character tonight to help Sexy Star here.
Yeah. And then, Worldwide Underground has to regroup again. Still curious what the payoff's going to be because Johnny Mundo's been chasing a Gift of the God Championship match. Well, really, more importantly, a World Championship match relentlessly, but he's trying to compromise in a way that'll still get him there. And you figure now what? Didn't we say Aztec Warfare? That's usually episode 9 of Lucha Underground. So, Johnny Mundo better pick up the pace if he wants that title before Aztec Warfare. We'll have to see how that all shakes out. But yeah, really fun match. Yeah, really fun match. Love Jack Evans' work. And Ashton, do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't think so, man. I think we can move on. This is going to be a shorter review, I think, isn't it?
It definitely feels like it's going to be, partner.
All right. So after this match, we got not an in-ring segment, a Dario Cueto office segment. We had Chavo come in and talk about, it's not going to be Pentagon versus El Dragon Azteca Jr. tonight. It's going to be Pentagon Dark versus me tonight. And then probably my favorite moment on the entire show, Rey Mysterio comes in and he says, no, stop what you're doing. It's going to be me versus this piece of shit right here.
Yeah.
I love that Rey said that because I've never seen the Rey Mysterio character swear before.
Ashton, I actually want to push the pause button on this segment just to ask you something real quick, and you and I have a little bit of a conversation because you said something very interesting on live reactions that I just wanted to explore very quickly in a more substantive way. You, because you really did seem to like that, and you seem to like the whole presentation of Rey in this particular episode. Do you think you could get behind him more now that he doesn't have to have this superhero air about him? Or do you think you could see a shift with your personal opinion of Rey from a fan perspective, like we've seen recently with the Usos now that they've turned heel and really turned up the heat? What do you think of his presentation in Lucha Underground?
I'm still not a huge fan of him being sort of as powerful in the Lucha Underground universe as he is, but at the same time, he lost to Pentagon Dark tonight. So apparently he's not the all-powerful character. But I think I'm just still salty that he beat Puma at the end of season 2.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, man, if he's going to actually be a human being and not sort of this, and I think that's kind of why I'm not a big fan of Phoenix either, is because they're like these, like, I am going to do the right thing in every situation and be the good guy. And Ray still pretty much is that, but he's showing more human qualities. Like tonight, he said this piece of shit, and then like he flipped Chavo off later on in the night. So he's showing more humanistic qualities, whereas Phoenix, what he did tonight didn't feel so much like he was being, or so much as it felt like he was just intentionally being a piece of shit to Jack Evans for the fun of it.
Yeah, dude, I'm so glad you put it that way, because I mean, I completely agree with you on all counts. I think my problem, and that's why I think I've really enjoyed John Cena in particular, like these past 2 years, and people like Rey Mysterio now in the confines of tonight's episode, because just because you're good doesn't absolve you from being human. That's why, I've always enjoyed, as I'm sure anybody would guess, I've enjoyed these last couple of years just really exploring that area of gray, because there is no wholly good or wholly evil kind of entity, in reality. We're all a mixed bag. We all do good things and we all do shitty things. And we could be good people, but we can succumb to frustrations. It's normal. So to see Ray with somebody that he cares about, and El Dragon Azteca Jr. being taken out, he knows who did it, because he has such a rich history with this person. He has an emotional and moral proximity to the perpetrator. Yeah, you're pissed off, and you do think they're a piece of shit. It would have been like more uncharacteristic if it would have been like, oh no, he's got to pay for what he did, and then I want to do it, but not really any of that anger. Just going to kind of go in by the script. I like seeing that emotion from Ray, and I think him being vulnerable, because you already said, for everybody, Pentagon Dark pins him tonight. That's how it all goes down. I was really happy about that, because now this is a Rey Mysterio where, and I do agree with you, Puma should have gone over at Ultima Lucha Dos, but this is still the same Ray, lost to Matanza on, Ray's debut in the ring and just Matanza's debut, in general, and now got pinned by Pentagon Dark. So I can get behind this, right, if that's more consistent, because he's a leader, but he's not like this out there leader. He's still very grounded in our world, and I like that a lot. And I think it's actually something that's kind of needed, because you look at the Lucha Underground mythos, and you've got time travelers and dragons and everything else. Ray's biggest quality, at least in terms of his relationship to El Dragon Azteca Jr., would be like that wisdom. That's like his superpower, if anything, like he has that calmness and he has this ability to lead, but he's not really extraordinary beyond that. And I think that's really cool that he's a pivotal character, but he doesn't have anything extraordinary, going on with him. But yeah, to continue building on this cinematic, like you said, calls Chavo a piece of shit. And then, I gotta say this too, because I've noticed this with Chavo throughout the seasons. I noticed it with Black Lotus. I think maybe even Blue Demon Jr. when he originally came back and Chavo tried something. Chavo is so obvious, man. Like, you could just telegraph when he's about to do some slimy shit. And he's like, Ray, I can't believe after 25 years, you would really come and say all this to me. And he starts walking away, and I'm like, gonna turn around, try and hit him. Gotta turn around, try and hit him. And he turns around, he tries to hit him.
He tried that with Mil Muertes in season 1, and it worked out for him then about as well as it worked out for him here against Ray.
It's like, I can't wait to talk about Chavo in our next segment, because you guys will probably be surprised at this roller coaster of commentary I'm about to take you all on with Chavo. But I literally wanted to script like, you dumb bitch. This never fucking works. Like, why are you so obvious? It's like, I can appreciate a heel. You all know this. I mean, hello, Scum Squad, for fuck's sake. But not when you're a dumb heel. If you're going to be scummy, do it right. God. It's like, oh, right, I'm totally not going to hit you. Oh, wait, I have... Why? You blocked? What sorcery is this? And then Ray takes Chavo to task, which was cool to see. And we all thought it was cool. Dario was pitching a fucking tent because he had this smile like, oh my God, so close to this violence. And, you know, he was loving it. And Dario pretty much says, and then Chavo reverses it, and then they break. And then Dario says, hey, you know, I have a way that we can have our churro and eat it too. So great little spin on have your cake and eat it too.
Dude, this was another amazing comedic segment for me because Dario's facial expressions at the end of this were absolute gold.
Dude, I'm not going to lie to you, and it just shows you how screwed up my mind is. First of all, you're 100% right. The facial expressions were spot on. But then when he announces the triple threat, and Chavo and Ray leave, and he goes to open up the drawer, I'm like, oh my God, is he taking out a bottle of lotion? Like, but it turned out to be a microphone. So I jumped the gun, but I never know what to expect from Dario since we pretty much saw him openly kind of snorting cocaine a few weeks back. But yeah, he was really into that segment. And he was really into that altercation, I have to say, between Ray and Chavo. He loved it.
I think this is the happiest he's ever been, or at least the happiest he's been since Matanza won the world title. But even then, that was more of like a vengeful happiness than just a pure blissful, like borderline orgasmic level of excitement.
Well, dude, he was just, I think it's not just even the idea that it's violence. I mean, that's like the strong driving point. He was so close to it. He knows the history between these two guys. So he's like, yes, I'm loving everything about this right now. And it's great. You know, I think that's why, how can I put this? Because, you know, there is talk sometimes, even now, about Dario as an authority figure, always positive. Never really seen anything negative yet, but maybe I haven't been looking hard enough. But this is why I love him, right? Like over the Stephanie McMahons or any character like that. Like he's evil, but never in a way that seems cartoony. And that's really crazy to say in a universe like Lucha Underground, that I feel like Dario Cueto is less cartoonish a lot of the time than a Stephanie McMahon or whatever. And he's got this big smile on his face. Like, I love how much this man enjoys it. You know, I think it's that honesty. He comes by it so honestly. And that's why I think I love him so much, because you have the characters like Stephanie or this one or that one that always try and have an air of professionalism, right? That always just try and have these mental gymnastics of justification. Not Dario. He owns that shit. He's like, oh yeah, I enjoyed it. And I'm going to have you do it again and again and again until, you know, I stop enjoying it. Just great stuff. So that was a cinematic. Do you have anything else you want to say about it?
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to add. I just freaking love Dario's excitement at the end, talking about how these guys were going to tear each other limb from limb. And yeah. And then the great thing too is they leave the office and he immediately grabs a microphone and leaves the office into the ring, or into the, you know, like the middle of the temple where the ring is, to inform Pentagon that he wasn't getting Azteca Jr. tonight, and then to fill Melissa Santos in on who the opponents were going to be. So just, I love the transition that we got. It would have been, in my opinion, it would have been even cooler if we literally would have seen Cueto, like the camera would have stuck on him from within his office and followed him until he opened the door. And then we would cut to the camera from inside the temple to see him coming out of his office, kind of like what happened last week with Mr. Cisco or Cortez Castro.
Right, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think that would have been a nice
cool.
touch. Yeah. So after that, we get into our triple threat main event, and partner, I'm going to field it over to you. What did you think about this match?
Well, you shouldn't field it over to me because I wasn't able to watch most of this match because my Fubo TV player was working up.
Oh, you know what? That's right. Well, I guess I'll carry this for the most part. I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I even said at the beginning of live reactions, I enjoyed that there really weren't any heavy material stakes. You know, it wasn't about a title shot or placement in Aztec Warfare or Gift of the Gods or anything like that. They were more intangible. They were more emotional. It was about pride, revenge, you know, things of that nature. And I like that drove this triple threat. I didn't feel like anything was lost on it by not having material repercussions. You know, all three guys really put in the work. I like that Chavo was kind of playing the heel at times where he was really picking his spots. Like, oh, there's an opening, or both guys are down. Who am I going to go after? Pentagon is a beast. I mean, even still, this crowd fucking loves him. You know, it's funny because I know me and Ashton did have a little discussion, like, how over is he? Like, what is that barometer? Because I even said that he could break Ray's arm and still be beloved by so many people for it. Ashton contended that a little bit. He said he wasn't really sure. And I'd love to find out. And we were close to finding out, but I'll get to that in a second. It really looked like any guy could really win at any point. I like that kind of booking. There were even points I thought, oh my God, is Chavo actually going to win this? But a closing moment comes in. Chavo gets taken out with a super kick. He stands on the apron. He eats a super kick. He goes down. Ray gets crotched on the top rope. I think that was by Chavo, which preceded the super kick. But then Pentagon capitalizes, nails a package pile driver to Ray, and pins him. So the idea that Chavo didn't eat the pin and Ray did, again, great touch. Wasn't expecting that. Pentagon Dark gets a win. I didn't really seem too concerned with Vampiro either, which I found very interesting. But then it gets even crazier because he's trying to go and break Ray's arm. Ray, of course, unfortunately fights out of it and, keeps Pentagon at bay. But Chavo, who apparently doesn't like to be ignored, reasserts himself into the equation and takes out Ray, gets a steel chair, hits him on the leg once when he has it trapped, and then he ties him up in the Tree of Woe, which I was kind of marking out for because it harkened me back to, I think the year was like 06, 07, when Ray and Chavo had their feud, and Chavo just shattered Ray's knee, and that's how he won their I Quit match on SmackDown. And he ties Ray up in the Tree of Woe, and he just wails one time. I thought it was going to be multiple times. He only got one really good hit in on Ray's leg. But before that, poor Marty Elias trying to do his job and be an upstanding citizen. Like, man, I can't watch this brutality happen. And Chavo's like, okay. And he hits Marty Elias in the arm. He brutalized everybody. I was laughing saying that Chavo's reverted back to season 1 Chavo, where the steel chair was his best friend and he would brandish anybody with it at any time. And Chavo was such a heel too in every sense of the word because he took out Ray. He hit an innocent bystander to Marty Elias. And worst of all, when the match originally ended, it was only 9:57. So here me and Ashton are thinking, oh man, we're going to get an ending cinematic. Chavo's temper tantrum sucked up the rest of the time. So Chavo was the perfect heel. He screwed everybody on every front. This is a hilarious ending to Lucha Underground for me. I loved it.
Yep.
Oh my God. So I guess you really don't have anything to say or really can add anything because of your Fubo issue. So do you want to move on to our next?
I did manage to catch the very, very ending of the match with the package pile driver and then Chavo's freak out. And it's funny because we pointed out when we were doing Lucha Rewatch that Chavo was actually way more important in season 1 than we gave him credit for.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that he was as important last season, but he still played a pretty major part in the Gift of the Gods picture towards the middle of the season. And now this season, he's kind of picking up right where he left off. He's very important. One of the top Rudos in the temple. And it's great to see him get like this to really boost his credibility, like basically injuring one of the top stars in the temple.
Right. Definitely. I completely agree with you. I enjoyed this, and it'll be interesting to see, like, how are they going to capitalize now on this momentum that Chavo has, because now you have to figure with Ray's leg being shattered like this, I mean, is it kind of, let me put it to you this way, is it kind of a hit list for Chavo? I've taken care of Azteca Jr., I've taken care of Ray now, but Pentagon's still breathing. Maybe Chavo's got this kind of arrogance to him now where he feels like he could go after Pentagon Dark. And, I could see that because Chavo, here's the thing, even though he didn't eat the pin, he didn't win the match either. And more specifically, he didn't pin Pentagon Dark or get any kind of measurable revenge on him. So I see no reason why that's resolved right now. I could easily see Chavo turning all that anger on Pentagon Dark and going after him, which that's an interesting story. And you know how it's going to go. And this is where Lucha Underground, I think, lucks out, because even with Pentagon Dark's questionable actions at times, again, the crowd still freaking loves him, whereas Chavo, I feel like, does get that legitimate heel heat. And so if Pentagon meets up with Chavo again, they're going to be begging Pentagon Dark to break Chavo's arm again. But that may not even happen because we're still thinking about, I know we mentioned him quite a few times in the main event, the Black Lotus Triad. When are they going to emerge? And speaking of triads and tribes, we did get another vignette for the Rabbit Tribe, which, I mean, they're still saying coming soon, and we traveled down the rabbit hole, so I can't wait to see those guys. So, I mean, a lot going on Lucha Underground, a lot being moved forward, and yet Chavo stands tall tonight, which, again, like you said, very reminiscent of Season 1 and parts of Season 2, so we'll see what they do with it.
I'm telling you, man, I'm telling you, Lucha Underground is following a pattern. Every season, the first 8 episodes are good, but not exceptionally productive. Now, Season 2, I'll argue, was a little bit of an exception to that rule, because in Season 2, it really more felt like, because Season 1 had such a huge blow-off with Ultima Lucha, Season 2 really did have to kind of get the ball rolling immediately with creating new stories and blowing some stuff off from Season 1. But Seasons 1 and 3 now, it does feel like they're just kind of doing entertaining shows, absolutely. But at the same time, they're not really doing anything big in these first few episodes. But I expect that when we hit Aztec Warfare, the shit's going to hit the fan.
Oh my God, yeah. See, the word I would use, and maybe it's improper usage, but I think Lucha Underground's very meticulous with the presentation of their product. You know, they're very careful to lay the groundwork, very careful to get the presentation they want to get, and I agree with you. I think Aztec Warfare 3, it would be at this point, is going to be where everything starts to pop off. And then we're just going to make that descent. And I'll put it to you this way. The episode before Aztec Warfare, that's kind of when you reach the high point on the roller coaster. And then Aztec Warfare onward, that's just where you plummet, man. And you just go on that thrill ride. Because, again, everybody's been saying, from the talent to people in the temple, Season 3 blows your mind. And these first 6 episodes have been fun. You know, I really haven't had a negative experience or anything like that.
We've already had some Match of the Year candidates in just the first 6 episodes between WMD and then Puma Matanza. I mean, that's 2 Match of the Year contenders in the first 6 episodes alone. I can't even imagine what's going to happen after Aztec Warfare hits.
Exactly. And Aztec Warfare, I mean, I thought the second Aztec Warfare was amazing, and I actually preferred it to the first one.
Well, dude, the thing is, Aztec Warfare 2 was my Match of the Year until No Mas.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it already had a claim at one point in the year to being my Match of the Year. It was just unseated by an even better Lucha Underground match. So
exactly.
Yeah, so I'm really curious to see where we go from here.
Absolutely. On that note, let's move on to our next segment, high spots and low shots. You know what? I'm going to say that my low shot is Jack Evans. Had a chance to give the guy championship. I love the guy to death, but you know, like all the help, and then all the help for Sexy Star against Jack Evans. Jack Evans was a victim tonight, so he's a low shot apparently in the Lucha Underground pecking order, and he's a low shot in my heart because he deserves better than this. Damn it! But yeah, I'm gonna give it to him this week.
Okay, well, my honorary, actually, dude, I'm actually, my mind is kind of blown that you didn't pick Ray as your low shot because he got pinned and then crippled.
You know, I knew one of us would, so I thought, yeah, I had confidence that you'd pick Ray. So I thought,
but I don't want to pick Ray. I have an even better low shot in mind.
Oh, okay. Well, then who's your low shot?
Well, I guess I'll call Ray my honorary low shot, but my low shot is Son of Havoc. The dude had the episode named after him, and it says the open road to revenge, and you didn't even get revenge. You lost.
Yeah, I guess that is pretty bad, though, to be fair. I doubt he has much control over episode titles. I can't see him saying, guys, name this episode after me because I got this shit on lockdown. But, yeah, still a rough night for Son of Havoc nonetheless. And not to mention, the week prior, and he wasn't even there to hear it, he got referred to as Son of Chaos by Eva Lisa's horrible boyfriend. So it's been a horrible... Jeremiah. Ew. God, his name just evokes disgusting images of his face. But my high spot... And this is where I said about a roller coaster, I got to give it to Chavo, man. Chavo was hilarious. I love that he has no qualms about ruining lives. He sent El Dragon and Azteca Jr. to the hospital, and he shattered Ray's leg. And it just brought me back to the I Quit match again, which made me laugh even harder. Like, I'll tell you what, I don't think I've ever really appreciated Chavo for just being such an exceptionally polished piece of shit. So, Chavo, you're my high spot, man. You keep hitting people with those chairs. Fuck Marty Elias. You should have known better than to get in the way. And Ray, I mean, you had to break the record for knee surgeries anyway. You were this close to surpassing Kevin Nash, so you can thank Chavo later. So, yeah, Chavo's my high spot.
No, Kevin Nash has the record for quad surgeries, not knee surgeries.
Oh, well, you know, Ray, you still have a monopoly on it. You can thank Chavo later. There you go. So who's your high spot?
My high spot is Famous B. He not only got to win a match with a tag partner as amazing as Dr. Wagner Jr., but he got the winning pinfall on Mascarita Sagrada. So he proved that not only is his current client better than his former client, but even he is better than his former client.
He's had such an amazing time fucking with Mascarita, from super kicking him in the face, literally kicking him to the curb, and then get my shoe, get my shoe,
beating him with a boot, yeah.
And then when Mascarita is puffing his chest out, because there was one moment I died, because I think it was after he hit the Hurricane Run on Famous B, the camera focused in on him and he was pumped. He was kind of almost like Ultimate Warrioring out, like, yeah, I feel it, next level transformation, just feeling it. And then you get pinned. Like, yep. You are Famous B's bitch. That's so
Famous
good.
B, more like
what was it? Famous bitch? Is that what we're doing?
Well, yeah, of course. I was waiting for you to do it.
Well, see, this is why I keep telling you, man. You gotta stop counting on me for this shit. You just gotta do it.
But you did it. You were clutch. You pulled it off.
Fair enough. But regardless, yeah, I totally agree with your high spot. And with that said, this is a fun episode of Lucha Underground, but I am looking forward to them getting more back to the narrative side of things. Hopefully next week, where we touch on the broader sides of the universe again with Captain Vasquez, the amulet, and just everything. But yeah, for a self-contained episode, for something that was really confined to everything going on in the temple, this is a fun outing. I enjoyed it. Ashton, do you have any concluding remarks about tonight's episode?
I don't, brother. Take us on out of here.
All right, guys, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-owner and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and leave a like. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top Lucha Underground review on YouTube, and since we're the best that ever did it, that's the only place we belong. So fuck with YouTube's algorithm, leave a like, let them know how you feel about us. And guys, you already know the stuff that you need to check out because my co-owner and commentary is amazing backgrounds. But what you may not know, even for as many times as I've been saying it, is to submit questions for Q&A. We do Q&A the last Friday of every month. So this month, it'll be October 28th. You have a little over 2 weeks now to submit questions for Q&A. It can be questions on any subject, and you can submit them through any medium. You know, we'll compile them, before the video and get it done. Last Q&A, we had 59 questions. Blew my goddamn mind. So we'll see how many we get this time. Every person has up to 5 questions per Q&A, and you can divvy up those questions any way you like, and they can be on any topic, wrestling or non-wrestling. And so get your questions in, guys. But until then, we will see you again for our NXT review, where Liv Morgan is set to take on Billie Kay. And all I got to say, Liv, is good luck. Until then, guys, tune in and peace out.